Right now, Tara is basing out the square with red, and then this will be for a crackle finish.
The more you can play around, the better. Okay, so we're just going to lay on our white glue. You want to go kind of thick.
And
generally,
like the Elmer's,
any white glue. Just don't use wood glue. But yeah, Elmer's glue. There's lots of like knockoff brands of white glue. I've never tried to do anything other than the straight up and down. Like you could maybe do a little scumble moment, but I think it works best if you just do it linearly. So that's about the thickness we're going for. And you'll see online, there's a couple different ways. So if you wanted a really subtle crack, say you were doing a prop, you would put your paint on right now. But for us, since we want to go for a more aggressive crack, we're going to let it sit for a little bit. We don't want it to, yeah, we're going to let it sit for a minute. Now we'll move on to the shellac. I'll tell you my little shellac story, because everybody loves to hear it. So this is shellac. It's actually one of the only natural products we use in scenic art, which I think is really cool. It is made from suicide juice. So it's made from lac beetles, which are these beetles in India. And when they are nearing the end of their life cycle, they actually secrete this resin that fully encapsulates them until they suffocate in it and die, which is like sort of wild. Nobody really knows why they would choose to go out that way, but that's how they go out. So these folks in India, what they do is they collect these beetles encased in this resin, put them in a big pot and boil it. And then they sift off all of the little bug bits, get rid of that. And then they have this nice, like, goopy golden liquid. They'll pull it out and stretch it. It's actually got a stretch to it. They'll stretch it out into these big, like, I don't know, big panels, essentially, and let it dry in the sun. And then when it's all dry, they take a big hammer and they smash it into 1,000 pieces. And it turns into these little golden flakes. And you can buy those flakes. So the company, Bullseye, is like doing a lot of the work for you, but you can make your own shellac. And if you guys end up going to Cobalt, because I heard some of you are interested, you'll learn this process, because at Cobalt, we make our own shellac. So this shellac, I think it says, did you get 3 pound?
3 or 5.
3 or 5? Somewhere on here, it'll say the pound. And that's basically just the ratio of lac flakes to denatured alcohol. So what you would do is you would take those lac flakes, little golden flakes, put them in a big glass jar, fill it with denatured alcohol, and just turn it. And the way we do it at Cobalt is we just set the jar in the middle of a room, and then anyone who walks by it has to like turn it a quarter turn. It takes like 3 days for it to fully dissolve, but the nice thing about making your own is that you can get the exact cut that you want. Stores only sell 3 pound and 5 pound, so if you want like a 2-to-1, you have to make it yourself. So that's shellac. Shellac is super sticky. If you guys have worked with it before, you'll know it's very sticky. So if you ever have something like a plastic or a vinyl that your paint isn't sticking to, shellac is a really great product to use because it sticks to everything and everything sticks to it. So we're just going to put on a nice thin little layer. The other cool thing about shellac is that because it is alcohol-based, like the solvent for it is alcohol and not water, it dries way faster, because that alcohol is essentially just immediately evaporating off. So we'll let that sit for a sec. Okay. I think our glue is, let our glue sit just a little bit longer. Do you guys have any other questions?
When freelancing in LA, is it a lot of word of mouth?
Yes.
Like people,
Absolutely. At least for me personally, but for most of the people that I freelance with, essentially, if you can get in good with someone who's a project lead, that person will then connect you to other jobs. So like I have one guy who I started working with a couple of years ago, and he has since gone on to like work at a bunch of other places. And so he'll bring me on because he knows that I'm good and reliable. Essentially, the best way to do it is like once you get that first job, either have a business card, or a lot of people, we just use our phones now. Every single scenic you meet, hey, would you mind if I gave you my number? Could I get your number in case I have a job come up? A lot of times you'll get jobs from other scenics. especially when things are really busy, a lot of people will like field their offers and go for the highest paying one, and then they'll drop those other offers off to other scenics in their contact list. So it really is very much a word of mouth, very much like make friends with everyone you meet and, you know, get everyone's number and be as available as possible. You can also obviously join the union, and that's a big thing. And you can also go online. There's a couple of like databases, lists of shops, and you could just not even cold call, but literally just physically show up. Just show up to a shop and say, hi, my name's this, I'm a scenic, I'm just starting out and I'm looking for work. If you have, you know, anything, please let me know, and give them your contact information. People love that. It's very, I think, especially your guys' generation, that might sound a little unnerving, but the people who run these shops who are much older, to them, that is like the industry standard, the way to do it. We actually just had some guys show up at our shop the other day. They just walked in and were like, hey, we're 729 painters. Like, you guys seem like you're working on something. Do you need people? And we were like, oh no, like we're all hired up for the day, but we'll take your contact information for the next thing. So cold walking in and just marketing yourself as best as you can, absolutely totally fine thing to do. But yeah, the more people you know, the better. And also getting to know art direct, like not just scenics, but get to know your art directors, get to know, you know, those kinds of people as well. Okay. I kind of want to let this sit just a little bit longer. So for the glue, you do want to have it just like a little bit solid. And then for the shellac, we're going to let the shellac like almost fully dry. Yeah. You know what? In the meantime, we'll mix up our sodium silicate. So the sodium silicate is a 10-to-1. This is way too much paint. But for our purposes, it can be really overpowering. So you really only just need like a little splash. I'm not really a measury kind of scenic. Some are like really anal about it. I'm sure you met Jen Stringfellow. She's like, she loves her measuring cups. But I'm good to just do a little splash. Do you have any stir sticks?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was way too much paint. Thank you. Oh, and then obviously Fred already mentioned, but in case any of you don't know, in August, I'm going to be traveling to New York to become the new, like, I don't even know what you would call it, like head teacher, head of operations at Cobalt Studios. So Rachel Keebler, the founder of Cobalt, is retiring, and she tapped me to take over for her. So if you guys do end up coming to Cobalt, you will be seeing me again. Thanks, I'm excited. It's gonna be really insane. Okay. And again, you can do this when it's really wet, so we're just gonna go for it for the sake of time. Now, the important thing here is you do wanna load your brush really good because you only get one shot. So we're gonna drag, and you wanna layer it on top. And when you start to run out of paint, like right there, you just stop. Now, if you were to try to go back in, it's gonna get all sorts of weird. So you really only get one shot to lay it on. Nice and gentle. I'm using like no pressure at all. Literally just the weight of the brush. And I don't know if you guys remember, but for that outside Mullingar, the green, there was like kind of different colors of greens. We had that like turquoise and then almost like a lighter minty green. And so that is essentially just doing this process, but dragging in different colors. So you can do multiple colors. You can do all one color. Totally fine. And that's it. We'll see how it goes if you can kind of see how it gets a little weird when you back brush it. See right there? So like that kind of stuff will happen. And as it dries, you'll see. Here, I'll do a little section of it so you guys can see what would have happened if I did it that way. It's not the end of the world, but you know, technique-wise, it's just important to know that ideally you're going to want to single stroke it. And that's also the other bummer thing about this is you can't put it on with a roller because it would take too much pressure and it would dig into the glue. So you really do have to lay it on top with a brush. Okay, our shellac is still sticky. Wait a minute on that. Another thing with the glue, I haven't tried it with the sodium silicate, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. But you can also use a heat gun to speed up this process, because all that's happening is essentially the glue has like a barrier, and so the paint wants to dry as efficiently as possible. So it's going to split and start drying in sections because the glue is allowing it to like slide. And so if you heat it up, it will cause the glue underneath to shrink, which will then cause the paint to shrink. Oh, awesome. Great. So we can showcase a little bit of that as well. And I'll be completely honest with you, I have no idea why the sodium silicate works the way it does. Genuinely. Like, I don't know why I know the shellac because at least it gives like a slick surface, but I don't know what it is about adding the sodium silicate that causes it to, yeah. Because it even says use full strength as an adhesive, which means it has sticky in it too. So I really don't know. Do you know? Yeah, it must like cause it to contract faster, but I'm not sure like on a chemistry level what's happening there.
I actually don't either.
Yeah. Some things just work. Awesome.
What are some things that you think they should have in their basic kit? If they're going to and they're showing up, you say, hey Fred, who can I send?
The other thing, yeah. So an important thing to know about freelancing, if you're going to get into the industry here, and this is something that I was not prepared for at all, you will do all of the prep. So in theater, the carpenters do most of the prep for you, and then you start at like facing. In the industry here, you are responsible for all of the prep. So you will do all the joint compound, all of the Bondo seams. And I'll be honest with you, like 60% of my time is spent just Bondoing. So that's something to also kind of get used to. Like if you really do want to be on the more artistic side of things, you're going to want to stick to theater, or you're going to want to weasel your way into the types of jobs that are not going to force you to do that. But for your general studio shops, you do all of the prep yourself, which means you're going to want Bondo blades. You're going to want your own personal sander. I like to have a battery operated and a corded, and a spare battery and a charger. All that's going to be really important. You can see it starting to go off a little bit here. Another thing that I found online that I thought was really cool is if you were going to do like a really aggressively disgusting peeling old house, you can actually get that ceiling texture stuff, and you can throw some ceiling texture on underneath and then do this process. And then once it's all dry, take a trowel and pick up on the corner of one of those textured bits, and you can peel it, and then that'll give you a whole nother layer, and it'll like sag off and just be generally gross. Okay, this is ready. Okay, and then with this, same thing. If you want those really dramatic cracks, you need to put it on linearly so that it wants to go that way, if that makes sense. Like if you were to scumble it on, it'll work, but you won't get those really, really dramatic linear cracks. And then we'll just let that sit.